Okay. I hope I'm audible, visible. Please check that once. Need to know this before I begin. Hello, hello. A very good noon to all of you. I hope I'm audible and visible. Right, I'm Nikita and I welcome you to this session, Last Minute VRC Tips. Hi Varun, hi Priyanshi, good afternoon. Yes, all my wishes are with you, okay? Don't worry at all. At the last minute, see, panicking does not really help you and you don't need to do it. You've prepared so hard, you've strategized, you've taken mocks, so there's nothing to get anxious about actually, okay? And a little bit of excitement, a little bit of anxiety, that's actually good. That's normal, okay? So don't worry. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Dipankar, don't be. You've prepared so well. You've taken all the mocks. I saw you discussing in the chat boxes about the difficulty level of various mocks. So you've prepared well. Yes, you've been consistent with your prep. You need not worry at all. Okay. Hi Harith. Hi Divya. Hello Gibson. Okay. All right. So don't worry. I'll allay all your concerns one by one. Right. Before I begin, I hope all of you. Oh, okay. Just a second. I need to correct this. So, yes, so I hope that all of you know that after CAT, just after the first slot, we'll come live. Gautam sir will come live. He'll take the first impressions, right? He'll talk to you about how he felt the paper was and what you can expect in the coming slots. So do join us, right? And yes, let's come to some tips now, the VARC tips that all of you have been waiting for. Good noon, Vaishali. Prajwal, Gyaneshwari, Amrit, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, Janni. Don't worry about decent attempts. See, you should focus on maximizing your attempts, right? So, see this, no. Let's say a decent attempt is just 12, let's say. Then, if you can attempt more than that, won't you? You will, right? And if let's say the decent attempt is 24 out of 24, but if you've not been able to do that so far, or if let's say it does not make sense to do this because some questions are genuinely more difficult than let's say what you can attempt in the given time constraint, then you won't do it. So don't worry about such things as how much should I attempt. You just aim at maximizing your score, right, within the given time constraint. Okay. So agenda for today, I'll give you some 7 tips for success, right? Let's start. That's a good combination, Divya, actually. Nervous and excited, it's a good combination. Okay. So there's something called eustress. I'm sure some of you must have heard of it. Eustress. Remember, we've done a lot of words with the prefix eu. Eu means good or well, right? Euphony, eulogy, etc. So a little bit of stress is essential for us to perform well, and I think a lot of you, what you are experiencing is that stress. Okay, so don't mistake it for panicking, don't mistake it for undue anxiety, right? A little bit of excitement, nervousness, that's very common before the exam day. Okay. All right. So at this stage, you know what your strengths are in VRC. Yes, for some of you, RC passages are your strength. Some of you, in fact, a minority of my students, they are good at parajumbles, sequence parajumbles, right? So you know what your strengths are. So tomorrow, play to your strengths. Whatever order works for you, VA first, RCs first, whatever has worked for you in the mocks, apply that. Okay. Uh, we don't expect any I mean, I don't expect very big surprises tomorrow, right? So, because I don't expect that, I think your strategy would also be similar as to what you've been doing in mocks. But in case there are surprises, yes, so these surprises don't always have to be negative surprises, they can even be opportunities for you. So, let's say you get more of some questions in VA. Let's say you get more of para summaries than para jumbles. So don't just go with this notion that a para summary question is difficult for me, and therefore, if let's say more of them come, I will not attempt them. Or basically don't think of one question type as a question type that you will not attempt at all, right? Because you never know, there can be easy questions tomorrow from the area that you consider difficult. This is not just for VRC, right? So if you're weak in a particular topic, still don't go with this mentality that I'll leave it completely. Just focus on the easy questions from that topic. Those are your opportunities. So a lot of students have this mentality that okay, sequence parajumbles, they are difficult, so I'll leave them, right? I'll leave those three questions. But what if tomorrow you have the time also towards the end, and you see that okay, there are a couple of questions that are easy, or there's at least one question out of three that is easy, it makes a lot of sense to attempt it. Okay, so don't go with any question specific, question type specific prejudices in your head, right? These can be, if any surprises come, they are surprises for everybody, and they can actually be opportunities for you. Okay. In case you feel okay, this new question that has come up, or this particular question type, let's say ParaSummary is my strength, but tomorrow I see more of difficult questions in ParaSummary. Let's say all of them are philosophical and have a difficult language level also. So then in that case, you should know how to navigate it. So one strategy that you can try is, let's say out of three, you focus on attempting two ParaSummary questions, right? Instead of all three. So you are selective, you get more time per question, and therefore your accuracy can improve there. So learn to navigate the threats. I think your mocks have taught you that, right? And don't fail to see the opportunities, if any, that come in the surprises. Okay. All right. All right. So Varun is saying 4213 rule. If the time is okay, it can work. Uh, So marking a run, yes, you can think of a sequence. See, I'm going to address this when I talk about the parajumbles, right? So yes, in case let's say you are short of time, you should never leave your type in the answer questions blank. Never do that. Whether it is odd sentence out, whether it is sequence, you should type something there. So in the odd sentence out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can pre-decide also that if tomorrow I don't have time in the exam, God forbid, although that shouldn't really happen, you should have time. God forbid if I don't have time, let's say I'm going to mark three as the odd sentence out. Just decide something and then mark it there. Just type it there. For sequence also, you can do that if you are short of time, or if let's say you are being selective and you're not genuinely attempting a question, but do not leave it blank. Right? Okay. All right. That's great, Shivansh. Ho jayega LRDI maybe, don't worry. So your strategy, yes, because a lot of students ask me what is a decent attempt, how much do I need to attempt to get this percentile, X percentile, Y percentile. This, just this should be your aim, that you have to maximize your attempts in the given time constraint. That's it. Okay. Don't worry about how much X person is attempting, how much Y person is attempting, how much will fetch me X percentile, how much will fetch me Y percentile. Right? Your strategy tomorrow is that, okay, I begin with my strengths, right? I prioritize my RC passages, then I choose the right question. So I'm again going to talk about question selection also. So, and at the end, I maximize my attempts. I make probability my friend. If I am 80% sure about A being the answer, then I don't waste a lot of my extra time in making it 100% sure. So if let's say after 1 minute, I am 80% sure, then I'll not spend one more minute in becoming 100% sure about it, because that 1 minute has a lot of opportunity cost involved to it. So make probability your friend. If you're 80% sure about a particular option being the answer, just mark it and proceed. Okay, don't make this certainty, this conforming again approach your enemy. Okay, all right. Now, what is your tip number one? Passage prioritization is extremely important, something that I've always told you, something that works wonders. Why? Because see, your initial few minutes are very crucial. Yes, because if right in the beginning, on the very first passage, if I'm attempting passages first, I end up spending 15 minutes. I've wasted a lot of time. Yes. So if I choose the wrong passage right in the beginning, by wrong I mean a difficult passage. There's nothing right or wrong as such. Difficult for me. If I choose that, if I spend an inordinate amount of time on that, and because it's difficult for me, I might even end up with a low accuracy. So imagine this is a total, it becomes a total wastage then. So prioritization is important because it ensures that you stick to your time constraint, your accuracy is high, and your confidence level is really high when you choose something that interests you and when you find the questions easy, when you've attempted them within 7.58 minutes. First 7.58 minutes में जो 4 to 5 questions हो जाते हैं, let's say you've done 4 questions and you're confident about these 4 questions because they appeared easy to you, then that's the real confidence booster, right? So please prioritize your passages. Then, yes, absolutely, Prajwal. This is something that I've observed a lot in students. They overthink and then they mark the wrong answer at the end. Okay, so tip number 2, question selection is very important, right? Because every question carries 3 marks there. Yes, it gives you +3 -1. So it's not like I'm getting rewarded more for a difficult question. It's not an adaptive test. So please, in your first go, when you are, let's say, looking at your RC passages, if everything goes, if everything is similar to last year's, 2 passages will be such where you will be able to attempt all the 4 questions. Okay, all the 4 questions will be pretty doable. In the remaining 2 passages, 1 or 2 questions per passage could be such that may be slightly tricky. So in case VRC is your strength, then even for these 2 passages, I would say at least 3 to 4, at least 3 out of 4 questions. That is what you should attempt. However, in case it's not, in case the other sections are your strength, you know that by now, then you can stick to, let's say, attempting 2 questions per passage in the first go. And if you have time left, you return to the remaining 2 questions if you have time left. So question selection becomes very important. Go for the easy questions, right? First, maximize your score there. We can, tackle the difficult questions if we have time left. Okay, but it entirely depends on what your goal is in VRC, right? If you're expecting a 99.9 from VRC itself, right, then you can't do this. That, let's say, you attempt only 2 questions per passage. Okay, then I don't think that is feasible unless, let's say, you are extremely good at VA. It also depends on that. Okay, so select the right questions. Pratisha, what I do is see what works for me. I usually hop, so RC passages, and in case I feel okay, it's becoming a little tedious for me, then a bit of VA in between. Okay. It also depends on in which order VA questions have been given. So quite a few times they are between RC passages. So in that case, I do this only. I hop, right? In case all the RC passages are together, my preference, however, I am more inclined towards RC passages. My accuracy is better in RC passages, right? So my preference is always RC passages. In case VA questions are there in between, I tackle them in between. That's what I do. Okay, however, I always prioritize my RC passages. This is something that I do without fail, and it takes me about 30 to 40 seconds at the most. उतने में चारों passages हो जाते हैं prioritize. Okay, that's what I do. Will eliminations in RC options be easy and helpful? See, elimination is the strategy that you have to go with, right? Because ultimately, see, you can't do this that out of 4 options, you end up reading only 3. So you have to read all the 4 and you have to evaluate all the 4. That is what elimination is about, right? So elimination is a foolproof technique that doesn't just work for VRC. It works for your QA and LRDI as well, right? Rishabh, it's all thanks to a teacher who I had in class 5, I believe. Yes, class 5. And I used to have a really bad handwriting. She made me write cursive writing books in class 5. So thanks to her. Okay. Getting stuck is counterproductive. This is a very general tip. It works for all the sections out there, right? In case you feel in a question, even after a minute, if you haven't been able to narrow down to 2 options, that's definitely a difficult question for you right now. Okay, don't get stuck there. Just leave it for the time being and proceed. Okay, or in case you have figured out an answer, you're 80% sure about it, don't get stuck in making that 80% 100% and spend an additional 2 minutes there. Just mark something and proceed. In case you've narrowed down to 2 options, but you are stuck between those 2 options, right? Still, let's say your hunch tells you right now that, okay, A looks like a better answer as compared to B, but I'm still to evaluate it, but abhi time nahi hai. Then mark it, mark for review, and proceed. So, 3 scenarios I have given to you. Not even able to narrow down to two options, able to narrow down to two options, and 80% sure about an option. In all these scenarios, you have options, you have the choice to make the right decision and not get stuck there, right? Make that decision, take that choice, don't get stuck. In fact, you know what happens with me? If in a particular RC question I am stuck between two close options at times, okay, or I really want to confirm it because I'm not very sure, right? Then if I remain on that very question, my problem doesn't get solved. If I distance myself from it for a while, attempt another RC passage, attempt some VA questions, and then come back to it, I look at it with a fresher perspective, and suddenly the answer becomes clear to me, right? So distance can actually help you. Okay. Yes, usually two close options. Unless it's an extremely difficult question. Otherwise, there are two close options, right? Okay. Chinmay saying how to choose RC passages. Okay. So my funda is very, very simple. Okay. What I do is I read the first couple of lines. The first couple of lines. First two lines. Right? Sometimes, when let's say the first two sentences don't give much clarity to me, then I also read one or two opening sentences of one or two paras. Okay, this is something that I do when things don't become clear to me from the first two sentences. Usually, the genre becomes very clear to me from the first two sentences. Okay, this is philosophy. All right. Usually, the difficulty level of the language also becomes clear to me. Okay, the language used is, let's say, it's moderate. It's neither easy nor is it difficult. Okay, so I've decided this, I've looked at this. Now I go to my second passage. Again, I repeat the exercise. Now, let's say this is business and economics. It is from a topic that is familiar to me. Okay, now this is from a topic that is familiar to me. I would prefer this one over this one. That's how I choose. Okay, because I like this genre more. It is a familiar topic for me, so it might interest me more. I might find the passage also easier, the questions also easier. When you find the passage to be interesting, no, even when the questions are slightly trickier, they appear easy to you because आपको passage अच्छे से समझ में आया होता है. ठीक है, so this is how I choose. This is how you should choose your RC passages. Just a second. Slot 1 का ही game. Okay. So slot 2 and 3 have an advantage. So normalization happens that way, no? They take into account this, that slot 1 actually faced the surprise, right? So they take into account that, and accordingly they normalize. Okay. Uh, how many RCs should we attempt? Okay. Shorter RCs are generally abstruse. I would not say this, Rishabh. I have seen, so for instance, there was this passage in 2017. This was about Vikings, a very short passage and a very easy passage. I think in 2017 or 18 again there was a passage, very short passage on typewriters, very short and very easy. So it's don't go by such notions, right? How many RC passages is ideal to attempt? Okay. See, again, there is no fixed number that I would give you. It entirely depends on what your goal is in terms of the percentile that you want to get, right? So at a 34, 35, you get a 95 percentile. At a 45, you get a 99 percentile, right? Then at a 24, 25, you get an 85 percentile. This is how it was last year. Okay, so I am telling you about the scenario that was there last year. So entirely depends on what your score percentile goal is, what your percentile goal is. So in case you are targeting a 95 percentile, right? And let's say you attempt two passages with 100% accuracy. Yes. So that's a 24 right there from RC passages. So then you need to attempt just two easy passages, let's say. But usually that does not happen, that we have a 100% accuracy in all that we attempt. So in my opinion, if you're targeting a 95 percentile, still I would recommend to you that you attempt 3 out of 4 RC passages and your BA portion. Okay, this is what my recommendation to you would be. That don't leave more than one RC passage in case you are planning on leaving something at all. right? What to do in the first 5 minutes? Okay, so in the first 5 minutes, again, it depends on what you are choosing to attempt. So, for instance, some students they say, let's go for ParaSummary, right? So, ParaSummary you should be able to complete in 3 to 4 minutes. Right. So in case you are choosing to attempt your VA part first, right, make sure that okay, if you're attempting all the para summary questions, 4 minutes से ज़्यादा उसमें नहीं लगे, right? Along with it, you can choose to attempt, let's say, one odd sentence out para jumble also, or both the odd sentence out para jumbles also. So this approach you can follow in case you're attempting VA first. Attempt your para summary and odd sentence out, then go for RCs, and then you are left with just sequence para jumbles. This is something that you can do. So what you do in the first 5 minutes will entirely depend on what you choose. If you choose RC passages, then you should be able to read it. The RC, you should be able to read it within 2 minutes. So in the first 5 minutes, you should have attempted at least two questions from your first RC passage. Right? So what you do in the first 5 minutes will be decided by what you choose. VA first, then this, RC first, then prioritization, and then this. Right? Okay. All right, all right. Now, uh, what to do in ParaJumble's para summary? Let's discuss that once. So in ParaJumble's, this is something that I've already discussed with you. If you're short of time in sequence ParaJumble's particularly, you can be selective. Just don't leave the box blank, right? So can be selective in case sequence ParaJumble's are not your strength. Okay. Para summary, you are asking me, right? Uh, Rishabh, sometimes the philosophy passages tend to be easy also. So again, just because you saw the name of Plato or Aristotle, don't automatically think that the passage is going to be difficult. There can be all types of philosophy passages. So there are websites that make philosophy simple for us. Right, they are dedicated to making philosophy simpler for us, to the layperson. So they present very simple articles on philosophy. For instance, some articles of philosophynow.org, some articles, they tend to be on the easier side, some on the extremely difficult side. Then there's this website called Psychology Today, right? So Psychology Today is dedicated to making psychology accessible to the layperson. Again, it has very easy articles on psychology. So again, ये notion मत बनाओ कि अगर उसमें philosophy है तो फिर वो difficulty होगा, right? Not necessary. It could be pretty easy also. So of course, don't keep it as your first genre if it's a genre that you dislike. But when you attempt it with an open, broad mind. Okay. All right. All right. Uh, Para summaries, yes, two of them can be moderate, one can be easy, okay, or two of them can be difficult, one can be easy, or it could be the other way around also. So, for instance, last year in slot two, you had two easy para summary questions and one was difficult. So, it depends entirely on what you get tomorrow, but कुछ ना कुछ easy question जरूर आएगा para summary में से भी. It's rare that all three questions will be difficult. That's rare. Okay. So our job is, in case I am weak at para summary, what I'll do is I'll choose the one that is, again, just go for a paragraph level thing. Just so basically whatever you were doing for RC in prioritization, para summary में भी वही कर लो. अच्छा, this genre ये तो business and economics से ही है, या फिर ये तो psychology से ही है, मुझे अच्छा लगता है. Language भी ज़्यादा difficult नहीं लग रही, so let me just attempt this, right? So you can go for that prioritization even in para summary in case, let's say, that's not your strength. Okay. All right, so many queries in the chat box. Just give me a second. Sometimes science passages may be difficult, philosophy passages may be easier, depends on the language. Absolutely, Charu. Agreed. Um, and sometimes, science passages, they look very technical, but they aren't. Sometimes they don't look technical. For instance, I remember there was this RC about subniveum in one of the previous years. It didn't look technical at all, but then the questions required you to think a bit. Okay, so it entirely depends on the difficulty level of the language, on the questions, the options, the way they have been framed, right? Okay. What to do when all options seem correct? Okay, when all options seem correct, this is a tip that I give you for main idea questions also. So I'll give this again. Let's say, um, first of all, when you are reading, when you are reading, it's very important that you notice what are just the supporting details and what are the key points. Identifying the key points when you are reading is very important. Okay, now let's say your options are very similar with a variation of just one or two words. Okay, that means the examiner wants you to focus on just those words. Okay, so forget the rest of it if just those words are different, and see which of the words are actually mentioned in the paragraph. A lot of times students fail to see this only. They go with conclusion mindset to a para summary question. If those words are not at all discussed in the para summary, they cannot be your answer. They cannot be in the paragraph में अगर वो नहीं है तो para summary नहीं हो सकते, वो आंसर नहीं हो सकता है. ठीक है. फिर देखो distortion. That's the next level of trap. It's easy to identify what is not stated in the paragraph, but distortions take a bit of time. So one of the options will be such that will distort through its words what is stated in the paragraph. Okay, so these are the most common ways of making wrong options or eliminating the wrong options that I've seen. One will give you something additional, something not there. One will give you something that's slightly distorted. So if you identify that, you're able to narrow down to at least two options. Okay. अब इन दो में let's say आप stuck हो, नहीं समझ में आ रहा, then think like this. If I hadn't read this paragraph and someone asked me to write something, okay, to write one of these two or to read one of these two, okay, अगर मुझे इस टॉपिक पे लिखने को बोलते जो ये ऑप्शन में मेंशन है, so which one will make me write something that is closer to my paragraph? If let's say these are my topics, what is there in C and D, and I was asked to write on these topics, writing on which of these will make me write something that is closer to this paragraph. This is an approach that works for the main idea question also. It works for para summary also. Okay. मैं आज chill करती, narcissist. Okay. I would absolutely relax today because again, as a student, I must have taken a lot of mocks, right? I must have attended a lot of sessions, practiced a lot. So I would have just had faith in myself today and relaxed. Okay, if at all you want to do something, revise some formulae. Quant में जो आपने किया है. Okay. Uh, this is something that I've told you n number of times in the class that in a para summary question, please eliminate. Don't think that okay ये ideal नहीं है तो ये answer नहीं है. वो answer इसलिए नहीं है because उससे better options हैं. That should be your rationale. Some option is not the answer because there are better options. Okay, not because it is not the ideal answer. That should be your approach. Be comparative. Okay. All right. Acha, you're asking me just a second some of your questions. QA, like if we so Dipankar, that's because you are taking your performance in one section to the other performance. That is why this is happening. That if one section is difficult, the other also appears difficult to you. Don't do that. See, DILR may be difficult, but QA, because there are specific topics there that you have prepared for. There are specific topics that happen to be your strength. So QA and DILR, they are very different in terms of uh, your preparation also, because DI में कुछ भी आ सकता है. Yes, it's like a puzzle that you attempt, so puzzle में कुछ भी variations हो सकते हैं, but QA में आपने prepare किया हुआ है, so have faith in your prep and don't think कि एक difficult है तो दूसरा भी difficult है. That's not how it works. Okay. Philosophy passages. Okay. Yes, Samrit. This is something that I've also observed. See, I think that's because your examiner also wants to maintain a balance. They also realize that not all of you have been philosophy students. So when they give you philosophy passages, sometimes they also accommodate for it and they do give you 2 to 3 easy questions at least. Right? So don't go with this notion that philosophy aaya to I'll leave it altogether. Right? Don't make it first in your priority if philosophy is not your strength. But yes, when you attempt it, target at least 2 questions. That's what I would say, right? Because I think two will be easy. Okay, if let's say things remain as they were last year. Yes, it is absolutely okay, Divya. It is recommended. It's not just okay, it is recommended. Amrit, I would not suggest it. I'm sure you've taken a lot of mocks, right? You've analyzed a lot of mocks. So don't, because see, if you attempt well in it, then that will be a very good confidence boost. I realize that. I absolutely understand that. But if at all, even things go slightly wrong, for let's say, and that's something that's just confined to one mock, then also it can affect your confidence tomorrow. So why do something like that, right? Okay. The passage is mostly about the positive ideas of something, but states some constraints. Should contain the constraint thing or not? Uh, you're saying that mostly it's the positive. Okay. Then should the main idea contain the constraints or not? So the main idea should ideally be framed in such a way that it highlights the positives. Okay. So for instance, if I'm talking about a policy, the benefits of a policy. Okay. So I say that the current policy is advantageous for the citizens. However, provided some constraints, provided some chinks that are there in its implementation are corrected. If let's say those two paragraphs were devoted to some constraints in its implementation, so it's largely beneficial provided this happens. Ideal option should read like this. The ideal main idea option should read like this. But whether it reads like this in your exam or not will entirely depend on what is given in the other options, right? If the other options, if you have a better option that talks about both the things, okay, that talks about both the things, then of course prefer this, provided its tone matches the author's tone. उसका टोन शुड मैच द ऑथर्स टोन. अगर उसका टोन ऐसा है कि ऐसा लग रहा है कि डिसएडवांटेजेस ज्यादा हैं, देन इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी द आंसर, राइट? सो इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन योर अदर ऑप्शंस. For sports deterrent, okay, can be helpful for all. Yes, 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 Varun. See, opinions, I always suggest this, no, that in ParaSummary, in case the author has given an opinion within a paragraph, then that opinion should ideally, that idea opinion should ideally figure in a ParaSummary, right? So look for that opinion. Something that I tell you a lot when we practice ParaSummary. Okay. All right. So, a broader time management is crucial, particularly let's say after every RC. And in fact, when you're attempting an RC, you should try to stick to the 7 to 8 minute limit, 7 to 8 minute time constraint for one RC. So have a broad, healthy sense of time management. Don't just keep looking at the timer, but at the same time, don't forget to look at it for let's say the first 15 to 20 minutes. कि देखा ही नहीं 15 to 20 minutes तक. Don't do that, right? So progressively try that you stick to this 7 to 8 minute time limit for every RC. If you do that, then I think you are sorted. Okay. And if you're attempting VA first, please don't take more than 10 minutes in the beginning, right? For VA. So broader time management is crucial for all your sections. Okay. Arya, that's a big, big list. Types of tones. Okay. Uh, there is this link. I mean, I'll not be able to share it in YouTube chat. Writers Write. There's a website called Writers Write. So just type Writers Write tones. Okay. And you'll get a list of 155 words. So those are also not, that's also not an exhaustive list because there are a lot of types of tones out there. Okay. Uh, All right. And lastly, see, your temperament matters a lot. How you deal with the opportunities and the threats tomorrow, right? The OT of SWOTs. That is going to matter a lot. How you manage time tomorrow, that is going to matter. And see, if let's say, go again, see, of course, we are all praying for, let's say, too easy and too moderate or difficult passages at least, right? Um, However, if let's say tomorrow three passages come out to be difficult, then please realize this, that it's not just difficult for you, it is difficult for everybody. Maybe it is not equally difficult for everyone because let's say they are better at RCs than VA, but probably you are better at VA than RC. So everybody has these relative strengths and weaknesses. Okay. If something is difficult, if it's on a general level challenging for everybody, on a broad level it is challenging for everybody. So don't think this कि मुझे ही नहीं आ रहा. मेरा ही खराब हो रहा है, राइट? बाकी सबका तो अच्छा जा रहा होगा. Don't go with such negative thoughts. Okay, don't develop such negative thoughts in the exam. Just navigate. It's like a so think that you're in a maze that you have to traverse. Okay, so just keep on finding ways progressively. Okay, if let's say in one section you feel a little lost, that's fine. Again, start progressively finding a way. Your temperament matters a lot. Okay, cat is actually 50 to 60% about your temperament. Okay. Analysis is sometimes the option that I chose was wrong because there have been uh, some words not mentioned. Uh, meaning, I generally I didn't get you. I would have selected the answer because the word would have been a synonym of the actual word given. Uh, oh, okay. So generally, see, paraphrasing does not make an answer choice wrong. See, in fact, let me tell you, this is a common trick that examiners sometimes adopt. For the correct option, they will not quote it directly from the paragraph. Your correct option, let's say it's a direct question, even then they'll not quote the paragraph directly. They'll not quote a particular sentence directly. They'll rather change the words. Okay, probably use synonyms there. They'll paraphrase it. So paraphrasing does not make an option incorrect. You're just stating something that is given in the passage in your own words. Okay, so don't think that because it does not use the exact words, that's why it's a wrong option. Synonyms work. Okay, they are conveying the same, as long as of course they're conveying the same meaning, right? uh, yes, don't see left and right in the exam center. Absolutely. Okay, so I hope yes, you at least found answers to some of your questions. How much marks will give 80 percentile? It's like I feel like I'm a score calculator, a percentile calculator, and you're asking me this. um how much will fetch you in 80 percentile? I think again, if things come according to the difficulty level of last year's paper, then this much. Okay, so I think all of us should target at least 85 percentile in BRC. Okay, so 25, 26, that is something that everybody should target. Okay, all right. It goes wrong at times. Sometimes, then there are other traps. So even after paraphrasing, let's say one word would be extreme, one word would be changed, or it would be placed in such a way that the meaning or the intention of what the author was saying changes. So that also has to be kept in account. Okay. And ultimately, yes, eliminate. Whenever you feel, okay, this is the answer, have you compared it with the other options? If not, please do that. And then only decide that, yes, this is the answer. Okay. So that's good, Pragya. You should, in fact, go on a reset mode when the section changes. Okay. So once VRC is done, it's done. Forget about it then. Right? You've done your part there. You've done all you could do there. Ab sochne se bhi it'll not change your answer, right? So have that temperament that once a section is done, it's done. Now is the time to maximize your score in this current section. Okay. So remember this formula. You've prepared well. You've taken a lot of mocks, you've strategized well, you've evolved a strategy. So if you've done both these things, nobody can stop you from scoring a great, great percentile in VRC. Okay, just remember this. And yes, this is something that I would like to leave you with. You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. Okay, whatever your scores in mocks have been, you'll definitely get a little higher than that in your actual exam, a lot more higher in case let's say you were in the 80 percentile in the mocks, slightly higher in case you were already at a 95 percentile in the mocks, right? So keep this in mind when you go tomorrow. Okay, and all the very best to all of you. Simcat level, verbal level, see here again, I would say moderate. It's not very difficult, right? Sing an English song. Any of my favorite English songs. uh, Okay, all right, okay. How to avoid situations if RC is from your are liking, but questions are tricky and lengthy. See, we can't completely avoid that situation because see, even if you read the question stems in advance, even if let's say before reading the RC, you are from the school who feels that, okay, let me read the question stems first. Then also you haven't read the options, right? And you will be able to evaluate the options after reading the RC only. So ultimately, how that RC completely turns out to be for you, you will not be able to gauge that just by reading the couple of lines. Prioritization just helps you to decide, okay, this is interesting for me, its language appears easy, let me try this. But there is a possibility that the questions after it may turn out to be difficult. But अगर वो आपके इंटरेस्ट लेवल का है, अगर आपको उसकी लैंग्वेज भी इजी लगी है, तो आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी बेटर है, then you are able to navigate even the trickier questions much in a much better way than you would for something that you don't like at all or you found difficult right in the first place. So you can't completely avoid such situations because ultimately it all depends on how your options have been framed, right? Absolutely. All my blessings are with you. Okay. All my wishes are with you. And don't worry. Just rely, have faith on your preparation, have faith on yourself. You'll do well. Okay. When you encounter a difficult question, just don't get stuck there. Don't let it become an ego question. Learn when to let go. Okay. Maximize your score in the through the easy questions. Okay. And just a second, somebody was asking. Other than the admit card, yes, your ID proofs have to be taken, Anushka. So Vikrant sir is going to come live soon. He'll talk to you about the exam day guidelines, right? Accept questions. See, whenever I ask you which of the all of the following are true, all of the following are true, except. So what am I exactly asking you to identify? एक्सेप्ट में नॉट का फीचर है ना, दैट विच इज नॉट ट्रू, तो कौन सा ट्रू नहीं है? आई एम आस्किंग यू दैट विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग, ट्रू के बाद एक्सेप्ट है मतलब जो ट्रू नहीं है वो आइडेंटिफाई करना है, राइट? सो जस्ट रीड योर क्वेश्चन स्टेम केयरफुली एंड दैट विल गाइड यू. Okay, calmly and carefully whenever you have not, whenever you have except, whenever you have if false. Okay, all right, all right, all right. Thank you so much, Gyaneshwari. Welcome, Akhil. Welcome, welcome. All the very best, everyone. The following statements could be seen as supporting the passage. Which of the following statements could be seen as supporting the arguments in the passage? It's a strengthening the argument question. You have to basically see which of the following will agree with what the author is saying. Author का viewpoint आपने समझ लिया passage पढ़ के. So which of the following statements will actually support that viewpoint? उसके साथ consistent है, उसको further strong बना रही है. बस ये देखना उसमें. Okay, so just read, understand, navigate, and you will get through. Don't worry. Okay. All right, all right. So this is it from my end. I hope the session helped and the sessions that we've had so far have helped you. Just remember this, okay? I want you to remember this for life and not just for CAT tomorrow. And we'll see you shortly after the exam, right? In the analysis, we'll see you. And of course, we'll keep seeing you for the other non-CAT exams as well. Okay, all the very best. And Vikrant sir will see you shortly with exam day guidelines. These are the details of the analysis. I've already talked to you about the first impressions. If any of your friends are preparing for CAT 2023, do recommend this course to them. And you can consider buying this mock series for the non-CAT mock tests. All right. We are there on social media. Yes, heavy presence on social media. We'll see you tomorrow as well here, and we can stay connected in the long term over Telegram. Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Acha, so Gaurav is asking which of the statements, if false, could be seen as supporting the passage. अगर if false support करेगी, that means अगर if true है, तो support नहीं करेगी. Rather, it will say something that goes against the passage. तो मतलब अगर if true है तो passage के against जाके बोलेगी कुछ. That's it. So उसको उल्टा कर दो, सिंपल हो जाएगा वो. If true करके इसका उल्टा कर दो, it will become simpler. Right? All the very best, guys. Have faith and relax today. Please relax today. Okay, chill. आज chill करो. Okay. Bye bye. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.